Welcome to Stop the Fight. And today we're recapping this weekend's action. And, of course, the news. Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua. Let's go!
Don't brag about taking my side piece! Don't brag about taking my side piece, though!
I broke my back. Back is broken. Spinal.
He's strong, man. Good boy, just...
Wow, what a night of action. What a great card. What an awesome set of fights. And particularly so, as I said earlier, I am super happy about this outcome. I kind of sat on the sidelines here bet-wise, but as I told you, I was really rooting for Brandon Figueroa. I really like the kid, and he showed me a lot this fight. He showed that the young man can fight. Forget about boxing, forget about all these other intangibles. He outfought and KO'd Usyk. And early in that fight, it kind of went as I expected. Usyk was landing the harder, better shots, but it seemed like Figueroa had no quit in him. He just kept coming. He kept landing those shots. He would, every time Usyk would land the shot, Figueroa just kept coming forward, kept trying to throw his own shots. And the size difference here, as I mentioned in the pre-fight, it did turn out to be a pretty big deal. It seemed like Nery just couldn't handle the size. Figueroa was bigger and a tad, certainly physically stronger. I think Nery still had the stronger punches, more accurate and more powerful, but I think the relentless pressure of a bigger, stronger body in Brandon Figueroa, I think wore Usyk out. And he was eventually KO'd to the body. But it looked like even in round 6, that was in round 7, even in round 6, you can tell that he was really starting to wilt. The tide had started to turn a little bit, but he was really starting to wilt. I felt that he didn't want any of that from Brandon. And, with a sizable kid, Brandon's 5'8". He's going to be a little bit bigger than the majority in his division at 122. So where does each guy go from here? Well, I think obviously Brandon is slated to fight Stephen Fulton. And that's actually going to be an interesting fight, as Fulton is a boxer, a very good boxer. Good legs, good hands, not a KO guy. 19-0, 8 knockouts. But good hands, and I think enough power to keep Figueroa honest. But after seeing what Figueroa will do, Fulton's going to be the smaller guy again. Fulton's 5'6.5". Brandon Figueroa is going to be almost 2 inches taller than him. It's going to be significant at these lighter weights. I don't know if Fulton can keep Figueroa off him for 12 rounds. That's a lot. And Figueroa was young. The thing about, if you guys remember Bam Bam Rios, the thing about having an oversized, strong body in the ring, you can beat a lot of way better boxers. Simply because you can just bully them. And you saw that with Bam Bam Rios at 135 and 140. 135. Bam Bam Rios was an absolute beast. Not because he was a great boxer, but he was so big and strong. The other fighters just couldn't compete at that weight. And I think you have a little bit of something like that going with Figueroa. Figueroa's an awesome kid, though, by the way. I love watching him fight. I loved watching his brother fight as well. And like I said in the pre-fight, I was really rooting for Figueroa. I just didn't think he would actually be able to pull it off, but I'm super happy that he was. And Usyk, well, what does he do? He fought well, but he seemed to wilt under the pressure. Was there a little bit of overtraining? Maybe, but I don't think that was it. I think what wound up happening here is just that. He was just a little bit too weak for Figueroa. And I don't think anything would change in a rematch. As a matter of fact, I think it would be worse, because Figueroa now mentally knows he can walk you down. It's different than if you get caught lucky, but you can tell he was starting to wilt. So can he go down? He's fought at 118 before. And 118, I think, you have Inoue there. Like, that would be a pretty good fight. Given what I saw today, I don't think that Nery can beat Inoue, but I think he has a better shot against Inoue, who took a little bit of damage in Daenerys' fight. I have to remember that Inoue, for all as great as he looked, against Daenerys, he was taking some work, and he can be hit. And Nery has power. He really does. He really does. It didn't seem to be as effective at 122 as it was at 118. Well, the question is, at 122, can he find success against the other champs? Will it matter? If you can't beat the one guy in your division, then either you stay second fiddle or you go back down to the division that you were king in. And like I said, there is probably a little bit more money at 118 for him. You have Inoue, you have Rigondeaux. You can still make a name for yourself. But now here at 122, well, you have Figueroa tied up for the next fight against Fulton. So that leaves you with the second tier of opponents. There's that Tajik or Uzbek kid who has a lot of power. You know, the kids coming out of Central Asia, they're really powerful, and they would have seen how you dealt with a strong guy. They see that you can be outworked, outmuscled, outfought. These young kids, powerful kids, are going to be down there. Are going to be watching your fights, and the book's kind of out on an undefeated fighter who can get walked down. Like I said, this is very different than just getting flash KO'd. You were walked down. Enough holes were exposed. You know, one of the things Nery kept doing is oftentimes he would walk himself, I think, into bad angles. He would stand there with his hands down numerous times. And while he was the more accurate and faster puncher, his lack of his defensive liabilities really cost him this fight. So he obviously needs to talk to his team and see what they're going to do. But maybe coming down to 118 is the better option for him rather than try and stick it out and wait out Figueroa versus Fulton. I do think he would have a better shot against Fulton, no doubt. No question in my mind. But if Figueroa stays at this weight, you're probably not going to beat him. Now, let's talk about the other big news of the week. The Tyson Fury Anthony Joshua fight was finally made, and 2 days later, it was canceled. The arbiter ruled in favor of Wilder. He must now have a signed fight by September 15th or be paid step-aside money by the Fury team. Now, it's already been known or let known to us that Wilder's not taking step-aside money. So all this hard work, this months and months of negotiations, venue selections, bidding, glove size, ring size, blah, 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 national anthem, who comes out first, A side, B side, Fury Joshua for the entire shebang has been canceled. Wow. I can't say I'm not disappointed because I kind of am. I think we all are. While, of course, I would love to see a Wilder Fury 3 fight. I would. And I don't think it's necessarily as a foregone conclusion as all you say it is. I'll talk about that in a sec. We, of course, would much rather see Fury Joshua for the entire thing, for the whole game, you know? This is it. You know, this is like, I don't know if you guys watch hockey playoffs, but Fury Joshua becomes like that Game 7 overtime. First, you know, the winner here has everything. Instead, we get Wilder Fury 3. Good fight, don't get me wrong. Good fight. But it's not Joshua Fury. So let's talk a little bit about Wilder 3, Fury Wilder 3. It's going to be a little, I think it's more competitive than it seems at first take. Last thing we remember is Tyson Fury mauled Deontay Wilder for the entirety of their second fight, of their rematch. Yes, that was true. And people are discounting that first close fight where almost any other ref would have gave that as a KO victory to Wilder, as though that was just a call that won't happen again. But I don't think it's that simple. What if Wilder really was just high in his own supply coming in that second fight? There sure as hell seems to be a lot of excuses coming out of the Wilder camp, bad ones. But, you know, boxing is a mental game a lot of the times. Wilder could have been like, bro, I really KO'd this guy in the first fight. It's a shame Jack Reese let him up. I should have that win. But, you know, you come in unready, mentally kind of full of hubris, and you pay the price, which he did. He did. That second fight, Tyson Fury mauled him. Knocked him down twice and, like, you know, he was saved. He's saying, "Oh, the fight should have continued." Absolutely, Greenland absolutely saved him a career, and now granted him a third fight. If Wilder stays up for another 5 rounds, getting beat up like that, he may not want a third fight. At least now he still has the wherewithal to take a third fight. But Wilder has something which doesn't go away with time, really, or with age, and that's that power. And he knows he can practically KO Fury, as he's practically done that already. That kind of power, that kind of confidence, that kind of memory, it doesn't fade from a fighter. He's going to know coming to the third fight that no matter what it's like in terms of who's getting outboxed, at any moment, he can stop him, which he kind of did in the 12th of his first fight. And I think that's why he was so upset, is that no matter how bad he looked in the closing rounds of that second fight, he believed that as long as he is conscious, he can stop Fury. All he has to do is land one time. And I think he may be partly right. So I don't think you guys should sleep on this fight. Also, like I said in the previous podcast, Fury's very clearly training and very clearly in shape. Now that's a good thing, and you think that will bode well for Fury in a Wilder 3 fight, and it would. But Fury can also lose a little bit of steam. You spend your whole training camp training for the undisputed title at heavyweight. And here you are all of a sudden being told, well, you got to fight the guy you just mauled again. You may lose a little motivation. And boxing is all about these minor intangibles. You're a little bit unmotivated, a little bit slow, maybe you didn't push so hard in training, maybe you're a little sleepy. And someone like Wilder will actually end your dreams. Yeah, it can happen. So I think there's a little bit more to this third Wilder Fury fight that meets the eye, and we'll talk about it some more as we go on, as we come closer to it, as when we get a date and a time and a location and whatnot. But again, I want you guys to know I am upset that Fury Joshua was canceled. But what does Joshua do? Well, Eddie Hearn today says, well, we have an opponent. Who? Usyk. Huh. Talk about a good stay busy fight for Joshua. Talk about a legit, we want to see where this kid is at for Usyk. Now, you've heard me say it before. Well, at least I think I made a podcast on this, or maybe I haven't done it yet. But Usyk, I don't think he's a great heavyweight. He's a absolutely phenomenal cruiserweight, but he seems to be underpowered at heavy. As a matter of fact, I picked Chisora to beat Usyk, and I thought at the end of the fight, I thought a draw was a reasonable scorecard to have, as Usyk really gave up that first half of the fight. Against a significantly better heavyweight in Joshua, I don't know. I think Usyk's going to be in a lot of trouble. I think he has to take this fight, as I think he's in danger of losing to anybody in the top 10 at any point at heavyweight. So I think if you're his promoters and you're him, you have to be honest with yourself. Now's the time. Now's the time to make that money. Usyk is an undefeated, unified, undisputed cruiserweight champion who, like Holyfield, has now gone up to heavyweight to test his luck for the fucking glamour division in boxing. It's time to play. He's 33 years old. It's time to see what you're made of. He's not going to get any better. This is it. This is the best Usyk we're going to see at heavyweight. So that's an excellent fight. It really is. That's an excellent stay busy fight. And I think in many ways, this actually helps Joshua prepare, as Usyk is probably the fastest heavyweight on his feet and is going to be a better mimic of Tyson Fury's style than some of these other guys. The other tall guys that you can get to spar with you aren't fast enough. Now, Usyk will give you that speed. He's faster than Tyson Fury on his feet. That's for sure. Hand speed's probably similar, but he's faster than him on his feet. He moves around really well. So if you're Joshua and you're sure you can beat Usyk, it'll be absolutely great to see what speed will do to you in a live fight setting. It's one thing when you're sparring against guys, but to get him in the ring is a completely different ballgame. Now, of course, Usyk is a southpaw. Usyk's significantly shorter. But I think the other intangibles are pretty similar. So for Joshua, this makes sense. So both fighters want this fight. Well, I think Joshua would absolutely take this fight. I think he'll win. I think he thinks he'll win. And Usyk wants this fight, well, because he's not getting any younger, and I think he's looked vulnerable enough against Witherspoon, who has fought like 7 years ago prior to that fight, and Chisora too. I think everyone's honest. Usyk is not going to beat the top guys at heavyweight. He's seen the punches that heavyweights throw on him seem to move him a little bit. Again, that you can get better at taking those shots, but nonetheless, he just seems like a slightly smaller body with these super heavies in here. Now, I think he's going to be vulnerable against Joshua. Joshua throws a straight right hand, and against southpaws like Usyk, even very good boxers, you're going to get hit with straight right hands. Those are the weapons against southpaws. It's just a recipe for disaster, I think, for Usyk. We'll talk about it more as the fight gets closer, but I think this is the best of a bad situation for us. Like, Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua gets made, and then all of a sudden the arbiter sides with Wilder. Now they have to take at least one fight each before they can fight again. And the trilogy with Wilder is pretty good. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, it's not as foregone of a conclusion as the casual fan will have to believe. And the Usyk fight, Usyk finally gets to fight a legit champ. Of course, obviously there can be a massive shakeup. We may never get a super fight. If any of these guys loses, you don't get that super fight. You just don't. Even if Wilder beats Fury and knocks him out, the Wilder-Joshua fight will not be as big as the Fury-Joshua fight, simply for the fact that Wilder's just nowhere as big as Fury. Fury's known all through the United States, obviously, and all through England and Europe and the rest of the world. Wilder, I think he's only an American cat, really. Only Americans know about him. Nobody else knows who Wilder is. To the rest of the world, it's literally who. So, again, as long as both of these guys win, and as long as we get good fights, the Tyson Fury Anthony Joshua fight will be made again, probably in the winter, and we'll still get the grand spectacle and the unification, and the undisputed champion of the world will be crowned. Now, let me quickly talk about the financials. Rumor is that Wilder, for him to step aside, now I know he's saying he's not taking any step aside money, but they're saying the rumor is $20 million. Can you imagine $20 million? Someone pays you $20 million not to take a fight? That's just to show you, if they're even considering giving that much of step aside money, the amount that Saudi Arabia probably paid for this event is astronomical. Astronomical. If they can pay $20 million just to make sure this event happens, that means it's $20 million and still everyone's going to get paid an astronomical amount. Yeah. At the top end of boxing, there's a windfall of money. A straight windfall for the top of the game. Now let's talk about some other news. David Benavidez doesn't think much of Caleb Plant, nor his chances to beat Canelo. He's saying Canelo will knock him out, and I don't really disagree. After watching a very fleet-footed fighter, eventually, in Billy Joe Saunders, eventually get caught and stopped by Canelo, I don't think David Benavidez is wrong here. And of course, David Benavidez wants to talk enough, but not too much, to make sure the Canelo fight always stays open. I think someone like Andre probably talked himself out of any Canelo fight ever, unless he becomes huge by his antics the other week. But I think Benavidez knows that he has a potential, life-changing retirement money fight with Canelo in the future. Should he want it, he just has to be careful about what he says. So, he's talking a little negatively about Benavidez. Now, we have Anthony Yarde is making a comeback. He recently lost a close decision to Lyndon Arthur. And it looks like he's going to be coming back in July and then eventually go for the rematch against Lyndon Arthur in the fall. Now, Anthony Yarde is a strong guy, but he seems to be like one of those athletes who's boxing rather than a boxer who's also athletic. He's got a nice physique. He seems athletic, but Kovalev when he fought Kovalev, there's something that happens when a veteran does that to a young guy. Takes him into deep water and then stops him out of pure exhaustion. Those kind of stoppages, of course that took a lot out of Kovalev, but I think it may have sapped the career strength out of Yarde, to tell you the truth. So I was excited for him initially, but after watching that Kovalev fight, I wonder if Kovalev kind of cut his career short, or I guess aborted it, to use a crude sense, before it ever, came to life. Something to think about. Well, guys, I came back. Today's episode was delayed. Of course, I wanted to get this done like I usually would, either on Sunday or Monday, but this is coming out Tuesday. Again, hopefully I'll have something for you guys. I'm almost sure I will on a Thursday. We'll be back to our regular scheduled stuff. So, again, that's going to do it for me. I'll see you on a Thursday. It's ho!
I'm gonna go home and break my wife's hip.
Don't brag about taking my side piece. Don't brag about taking my side piece, though.
I broke my back. Back is broken. Spinal.
He's strong, man. Good boy. Just.